Max?
Hey Ryan, Max Miller here with the Hockey News. Just wanted to you know get your first reaction and feelings returning to the Sharks organization. Obviously, it's where you played the majority of your career, but what does it mean just to be back in a different role?
Well, it's exciting. It's probably been a little over a decade now that been there as a player. Been back a couple of times, most recently for Patty's retirement, but to actually be back in the organization and have an opportunity again to make an impact on the organization and a place that I love playing and love living, and had a strong passion for the organization in itself. So I'm excited to be back, and a lot of work ahead, but I look forward to it.
Well, what's your relationship like with Mike? Obviously, you two work together in the Rangers organization. You guys play together. What is your relationship like, and how does that, I guess, cross over into your work, your colleagues, and working side by side?
Yeah, I mean, we played together for 3 years. It was kind of my formative years in the league. Mike was at that time, a veteran, had been around a while. And I thought he was just, I know, not only for the team, but for myself, a really good mentor. Me and him both at that time I could tell he had a strong passion for the game. And he was an emotional player, and I was an emotional player. And at times Mike really helped me kind of control my emotions at times, and really, help steer me in the right direction. And there was always a lot of respect there. And then Mike's just a great guy, easy to get along with, and a real fun guy to be around. So he fit in great with our group. And then afterwards, we both kind of, obviously I continued to play. Mike spent some time away from the game, I think, with his family and kids. And then when I got back into coaching in New Jersey, a couple of years with John Hines, who was a teammate of Mike's in college, I left, pursued another position, and Mike basically took my position there. And after another couple of years, we both got hired in New York with the Rangers and a hockey operations advisor. So we worked there for a year before Mike got the job in San Jose. So, we've just had an interesting path coming together, and now getting back to San Jose. I think it's something we're really looking forward to, and have that relationship and that trust built and the understanding of each other. I think it's going to be vital.
We asked Mike what exactly your role will be. Kind of said, overseeing a lot of the scouting and some coaching sort of things. Obviously, you have that coaching background, and now moving into the front office. What exactly is like your, I guess, what is your role as the assistant GM? Obviously, Joe Will runs the Barracuda. What is your job going to be? Or is it kind of a generalized type, overseeing multiple things?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it will be day-to-day stuff on the hockey side. There's a lot of things that go on day-to-day that you don't always necessarily see from the outside. Obviously, you see the games, you see the results, you probably see player performance, but I think just the nuances dealing with, some of the coaching stuff. By no means am I looking to, interfere with what the coaches are doing, but I think there has to be a good connection there and a good feel for what's going on between the front office and the coach. And I think all good organizations are collaborative throughout, and that's what we're looking to do, leading with Mike, and then me coming in, helping out. And obviously Joe does a great job with the Barracuda. I'll help out there any way I can as well, and also with Tom and his role. So I think it's just the day-to-day, obviously helping on the both scouting and development. I think that's the one thing that was really intriguing about this opportunity, was having the Barracuda basically attached to the Sharks, and you don't get that, you don't get that opportunity, especially for the young players to be able to, have the management and the coaches and the staff around every day for practices and games, and have, when you get the development staff in town and your development coaches there, you can get to oversee and help them and go through their process every day. So I think, just having everything under one roof and having us all there, and for me, just the day-to-day, and really having a really good feel and understanding of the league, not only the NHL, the AHL, any prospects turning pro, anything for potential trades or free agency. And then we have a strong, data analytic team there that also have an opportunity to work with. So it's a lot that goes into it, and it'll be a lot of work, but it'll be really enjoyment work.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.
Shang?
Hey, Ryan, congratulations.
Thank you.
How did this come together? Did Mike reach out to you, or can you just kind of explain that process of getting back over here to San Jose?
Yeah, I think it was, Mike obviously had to reach out to Chris. So I spoke with Chris Drury. Uh, he said Mike had reached out about a position, and I was not looking to leave New York. I love my time there. Ton of respect for Chris Drury and admiration for him and his staff with Ryane Martin and Jim Sullivan, who I work closely with. So I was content. We had a great organization, great team. It was making a run in the playoffs, and I just got a call from Chris. And then he once I spoke with Mike, and me and Mike went through it. It was an opportunity that I couldn't turn down. It was too good of an opportunity. The people that I was going to get an opportunity to work with was too hard to pass that up. And then just not only that, the opportunity that Mike was going to give me to come in and try to make an impact on the organization, and work with him daily, and be out there daily, and be boots on the ground. And like I said earlier, having the connection with the Barracuda right there was it played a big factor. So when I was in working for the Rangers, I would travel back and forth. I was living in Florida, and now being able to get out to San Jose on a day-to-day basis is something I'm really looking forward to. And yeah, it came together rather fast, and within a couple of months, here I am.
Did the position sort of solidify, well before the draft? Were you involved in sort of free agency planning and all that kind of stuff with the Sharks?
No, I wasn't involved in any. After July 1st, obviously, I was able to then transition, but up into the amateur side and up until the draft, I had no input. I was with the Rangers until the playoff run was over, and then afterwards, I knew I was transitioning, but it was no involvement on either side, the Rangers or the Sharks on the draft or player acquisition at that time. And then after July 1st, I was able to help out with the Sharks. So I was kind of just basically playing a waiting game up until then. We knew that it was going to happen, but I'd spoken to Chris and Mike, and we had a detail planned out for an exit plan, and it went smoothly. Great understanding on both sides. And so once July 1st, and they made an announcement right after that. So that's when you guys had your binoculars out and spotted me up there in the watching development camp. So yeah, that's kind of how it transitioned.
What were your impressions of some of the players at development camp, from Macklin Celebrini to the maybe less not as a big name Sharks prospect? Just who caught your eye out there?
Yeah, well, obviously, the last couple of years, Mike and his staff have done a tremendous job collecting assets, and both draft picks, the young players, and then using those picks on some great talent. Obviously, with Quinta Musty and Will Smith and Celebrini and now Dickinson. Then other guys that are also in the organization that have played pro last year. So it was an impressive development camp. I think it's exciting for the organization, exciting for the Shark fans, and as I kind of get to know these prospects and kind of done some homework on them myself after they were drafted, I think one of the things that's impressive is the competitive level of the players, and that competitive skill is something that's probably going to be at the forefront to become a Shark. So it was, and the development staff to get to kind of meet them during that week and get to know them, and they ran a great development camp, and their process was great. So it was overall really good to see, and that's important. Obviously, development with where this organization's going, and with the young players coming in, that's going to be at the forefront, and it was great to see.
And you talked about the attractiveness of the offer of the position. I suppose it's just the offer of being assistant general manager, that was just that title, those responsibilities that's what was attractive, right? That's what stood out there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of things that I was able to do in New York, I'll be able to do here, and but I'll be able to be day to day. The day to day, like I said, boots on the ground, and sometimes when you're not there every day, there's things you miss, and it's just natural. You're just naturally not there, and you're missing certain things that happen. And That's probably one of the things, and this was a little bit of a family opportunity as well. Obviously, living in San Jose, knowing the area, knowing a lot of people, being comfortable, living out there, and my family living out there, it was a big part of it. So yeah, that was, and then it's an opportunity to step in the right direction. Like I said, I kind of went from hockey operations advisor to senior advisor, and now to an assistant general manager position. So it's you're kind of working your way up, but I'm in no rush to get anywhere really. To me, it's just about the opportunity, and the other part of it was exciting was you're building from the ground up. In the last couple of years, the job the Sharks have done and Mike's done, you get to come in at with a foundation starting to be laid, and you can kind of try to put your fingerprints on it a little bit and help everyone, help the staff, and kind of do it together to build it up the right way. And that's exciting. You have an opportunity to do that, and it's been a lot of pain. And fortunately for me, I haven't been there the last 2 years, but I know the Sharks fans and Mike and his staff and the coaching staff, and it's been tough. That's a tough thing to go through. It becomes a long season, and they've done a great job weathering the storm. And it's still a lot of work ahead, but I think they're seeing some light here now at the end of the tunnel.
And I think you just alluded to it. You are moving back to San Jose then for this position.
Yes, I'll be back. Yeah.
And one thing that Mike said when we talked to him about bringing you on is one interesting thing that stood out is at the end of your playing career that you got to be around Lou Lamoriello a bit, and he let you kind of be around and soak in that experience of being around him and being around that front office experience. And Lou obviously is has a very unique style of his own. So anyway, what did you take from Lou in terms of that in that time that you spent with him?
Well, obviously getting to play once Lou signed me, I probably almost took more from Lou from when I played as a player. And I think culture is a word that gets tossed around pretty loosely nowadays, but I really understood when I went to New Jersey what that meant with Lou. And it's being very clear, very transparent. Everything's in the forefront, nothing's swept under a rug, and every little detail matters. And I really embraced that. I could tell why Lou's had success when I went there right away. And then when I was done playing, he was tremendous to me. Just letting me, pick his brain, be around him, see kind of his mindset on the day-to-day stuff. But, not only Lou, Ray Sherrill came in, and I didn't know Ray, and he gave me an opportunity when he didn't know what he was getting really. And he let me come in that first year and just be around him, do some scouting. I was around the coaching staff, and John Hines basically at the end of the year asked me to coach. So, it was Lou Lamoriello, it was Ray Sherrill, it was John Hines. I got to work with Kyle Dubas and Sheldon Keefe, who were really sharp guys in Toronto. Then have an opportunity to work with Chris Drury and his staff. And Chris is outstanding general manager. He's cut a little bit from the same cloth as Lou. Is really wants to build up the culture and demands excellence every day. And now I get an opportunity with Mike. So I feel like I've kind of touched a little bit of everything as far as different organizations and seeing how different people work. And there's no one shoe fits all. It's you got to, whatever the personality is and the mindset and whatever whatever your expectations are and your standards are. But it's good to I found it very beneficial to work with a lot of different people and different mindsets.
Thanks a lot, Ryan. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Curtis.
Ryan, hey, this is Curtis Pashalga from the San Jose Mercury News. Thanks again for taking the time to do this today. As your playing career was going on, did you ever think about, being in a front office position or in a head coach or a coaching position as you were playing? Was that something in the back of your mind at all?
Maybe I shouldn't say towards the end, because I did continue to skate during the, I think it was the 2011 or 2012, whenever that lockout was. I went to the San Francisco Bulls and to try to stay in shape, and ended up being behind the bench and helping as an assistant coach. So that was intriguing. So I knew when I was done playing, I guess I didn't know what area of the game I wanted to stay in, but I knew that when I was done at some capacity, I wanted to stay in the game. And, I really love coaching. Then when I kind of, got the job at the Rangers, I really dug into that aspect and that side of it, and no different than Mike did. Obviously Mike was involved in coaching as well, and I think he really enjoyed it. And that's where I think we have, I guess, a unique kind of skill set of we both played, we both coached at the NHL, and now we both been able to be in administration and a management role at the NHL. So I think we were able to check some boxes there. And I always knew I wanted to stay in the game. And, you know, what capacity when you're younger, you're not sure. You don't, you know, you're just trying to get your foot in the door. So I'm real happy where I'm at right now. And this is an exciting time.
I've seen a couple of fans post photos with you as you were, you know, around Dev Camp last week. What's been the reaction from the Sharks fan base here since you've been back with the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting. You know, like I said, I didn't get to see, because I was in the office most of the time, besides, you know, being at the prospect game there, where a lot of fans came up and congratulated me, and always been a huge supporter of the Sharks fans. You know, they're respectful. They're great fans in general, just, you know, just from a support standpoint, but they're very respectful and very engaging, and, you know, you enjoy talking to them. So, and then you know, my sister, my mom, my wife kind of tell me just some of their online stuff, that they're, you know, social media, that the Sharks fans seem to be excited. So, you know, I don't know if they expect me to fight anymore, but it seems like that was one of their favorite parts of it. So I'll be a little more tame in this position.
I guess it's fair to say you and Mike are on the same page of what you want the identity of this team to be. And, you know, we talked to Ty Dellandrea this morning and Luke Cunnin yesterday. And I mean, I figure those are the type of guys that you kind of need to have on any team. How valuable do you think of the Sharks, the type of players the Sharks have brought in here these last couple of weeks?
Well, I think it's critical. I mean, especially when you're going into a transition phase where you're going to have some younger players and high-end players come in, but this is a challenging league. Even for young kids that are coming out of college or junior that are, you know, high-end talent, it's still an adjustment. It still takes some time. It's a very tough league. It can grind on you. So to have those guys to insulate some of those young players is really important. You know, they're competitive guys. But not only that, if you look at a lot of the guys that are brought in this offseason, one of the things that they all have in common is they're known to be really strong teammates, really good guys, you know, guys that I think you can trust to kind of on a day-to-day basis to be doing the right thing and leading the way in the right way. So, you know, I think that is something certainly at the forefront. Mike's done a great job there as he's kind of slowly trying to, you know, retool and get things going in the right direction. So I think that's going to continue to be a strong emphasis is on, you know, I think sometimes we just say character, but what does that really mean? But you got to dig into the guys and know what they're all about. And I think Mike and his staff have done a great job of that, bringing in these guys this offseason. Obviously, I was with Barclay Goodrow in New York, and he's a high-end, high-character guy. Doesn't get any better than Barclay, and he'll be great. I think great fit into the room and exactly what the team will need. So they've done a great job bringing those guys in, and, you know, continue to do so.
So you maybe touched on this a bit earlier, but what was a typical day look like for you? You know, once training camp gets underway and, you know, the season gets going here, what would a typical day kind of look like for you?
I think a lot of that'll be it'll just kind of end up being, you know, I haven't been in this position before, so I'm not sure exactly the day-to-day how it's going to go. You know, a lot of it I think will be based on, you know, where the team's at, where our players are at, and a lot of it will be setting out kind of plans for where, you know, our development team and where that's at for the Barracuda and those players. Like I said, understanding any decisions or any organizational decisions on players within our organization, helping coaches, having some input there just on, you know, my eyes and what I would see on day-to-day basis for how our players are playing or, you know, where they're at mentally. So, you know, as I get through it, I'll have a better idea. You know, sometimes it's hard to lay out your exact schedule on a day-to-day basis, but when you get into it, you know, you're always kind of got something to do. There's always work to be done. You know, there's things that happen every day in the NHL and day-to-day basis that, you know, come up that you're not sure what it's going to be, but there's 2-3 things come up every day that I've learned that, you know, you just got to be prepared to handle. And I think with our staff there, and we got a great, I think, mix of, you know, myself, Tom, Joe, and Griersy, a great, you know, mix of knowledge there. So I think it'll be, you know, I'll be working with them every day as well. We'll all be in there. We'll all be in the office. So that'll be exciting.
I'm sure you've talked with Joe Thorne and Patrick Marleau. Any other teammates, you guys, I guess it's only Mark Edward Vlasic and Logan Couture are kind of still with the team from you were playing. You talked with those guys and heard from them, and what have they had to say about you coming back to the team?
Well, obviously I've seen, I was with Patty and Joe at development camp, and Reach, Nabby. I've seen Scotty Hannon. I talked to Smitty and Mark Smith. So, anyone who was around, obviously I've seen, and I haven't talked to Cooch or Pickles yet, which I will, want to get to camper before that. So I look forward to seeing them. And then obviously not a lot of new faces, a lot of new people to meet once I get there. I got to meet, I think most of the staff, or I guess half the staff is probably the same, the off-ice staff, and there's some new faces still to be brought in there. So I think once I get to training camp, I'll be able to see some of those, some of those guys, some of those players that I've played with, and then, meet all the other guys, because really, besides Pickles, Barkley, and Cooch, I don't think there's a lot of guys there that I do know. So it'll be good to meet everyone.
What are your expectations for the Sharks this season?
Well, I think, as you're going through this, you want to continue to get younger and you want to continue to get better. That's what it is. I mean, to me, that's the process. And I think we'll be able to make some strides in both departments. I don't think you want to put a win count or a place in the standings on it, but you just want to be a team that, you see a team that's a little bit more competitive on a night-to-night basis. I look at Arizona when they were kind of the last couple of years when they were kind of go through it. It was always they were always a competitive team. They had off nights, and sometimes you play teams that are, on a different level because they're on a different part of their trajectory. But you're always in a competitive team, and you're in a game. And I think that's kind of the process you want to get to. I think the coaches will have a really tight structure, really detailed structure in place, so everyone's kind of pulling in the same direction, and then you're able to be a tough out. And I think that's what the progress and the process is this year, is just to be able to be a little bit more of a disciplined team, a little bit more of a harder team to play against, and a little bit more of a team that plays a little tighter, a little more structure. So I think and then you want to be a little faster too. So I think that's kind of what we're looking for. Like I said, not so much where you're going to place in the standings or how many wins you're going to have, but you just want to keep chipping away and moving forward and getting a little younger and a little better.
The way the Rangers brought along some of the young players like Lafreniere and Hedel and these type of players, is that kind of way maybe the Sharks could bring along some of their young guys, like a Smith, Celebrini, and a couple other guys? Is that kind of a pattern that could be followed here, do you think?
Well, after the year Lafreniere had, you'd hope it, but that's, the year before that, he was still finding his way. And, 2 years ago, it was kind of the same thing. So it was it wasn't easy. He was the first overall pick, and it took some time, and it takes a lot of patience with these young players. And, I think hopefully that's, like I said earlier, it's a tough league. I think there'll be some challenges. There's no question there'll be challenges, because it doesn't matter who you are. It's a challenging league, and I think as you see those young guys in New York come along, I think, at times, especially in that media market, there was getting some pressure on those guys to kind of start to, to pop or perform a little bit. And you got to, within your organization, you got to have patience and trust and understanding from a development standpoint. And there's one thing I learned is development is an individual thing, whether it's Will Smith or Celebrini or, any of the young guys around the league, they're all different. It's really is an individual thing. And you got to identify the strengths, weaknesses, what we need to kind of dig in on and go from there. And that's what kind of happened with New York. And, Laugh had a great year this year, and but it takes time.
All right. Thank you, Ryan.
We got time for a few more minutes. We'll go to Shang.
Hey, Ryan, just wanted to ask you, the Sharks picture in your background, why that picture? What's the significance of that picture behind you?
I don't know why that's my I got this room that was, sort of supposed to be a man cave or something. She just got a bunch of pictures, and most of them are Sharks. So I think she plopped that up there somewhere, and nothing real important behind it, Shang. Just
Okay.
yeah. I wish I had more for you, bud.
One more, maybe you have more for me on this one. How was it like being just back with the boys? So many familiar faces. I mean, just is it similar to being back in the locker room with Jumbo, with Reach, all those guys, or is it different now that you guys look different? But yeah, just you're in the front office now too. Like, what's similar, what's different about that experience?
Well, I think it's still the same as far you're trying to collaborate and trying to, you know, push the team forward and have success together. I mean, that part's the same. It's a little different because, you know, you can't physically impact the results as much anymore. You're not playing, you're not on the ice. So, you know, that part early in my career when I first got out of the game, I struggled with a little bit, just in the fact that knowing that, you know, you're not a player anymore and you can't do it anymore. You got to do it in a different way and try to help in a different way. And so, but having all those guys around, you know, the one thing I know, and the one thing I've seen when I was out in development camp is we all have a passion for the Sharks. You know, all those guys live there. Obviously, I'm moving back there, but those guys stayed. Reach stayed, Patty, Jumbo, Nabby, like, you know, Hanner. Those guys all stayed in San Jose, and they love the Sharks. They stay involved, whether it's development or, you know, a guy like Scotty Hannon does some TV work. Those guys love the Sharks. They love the city. They love the passion. And also, when you have those guys around that are connected to the past, and I know, you know, during my time there, or you know, even after when they made to the finals, the team never won, but it was sustained success. You know, you're able to knock on a door every year. Every year you had a chance. You knew you were going to be probably one of the teams in a mix to make a run at the cup, and that's where you got to get to. I mean, there's 32 teams. You know, the league keeps expanding. It gets harder and harder. You know, to sustain success and actually win. So I think that's the actual goal going out here, is to try to get a team that you can sustain, and having those guys around that are connected to the past, I think is vital. And just the passion they have, and you know, most of them still work for the organization, which is great. And they don't just come in and go home. They come in and they put the work in, and they're, like I said, they're passionate about it. So that was great to see when I was out there. And, you know, Reach has been there since training camp. I told him, I said, Reach, you've been standing here talking to these young guys just like, you know, 20 something years ago when I came in, and he was doing it. So it's, you know, it's awesome. And guys, you know, guys just love to be around.